Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of the Unstoppable Profit Podcast. Super pumped, super excited to have on a new friend, a colleague, an incredible multi-agency and business owner, the one, the only Dom Piccirillo. Dom, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, Mike. Thanks for having me today.
Hey, you're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks for joining us. And you have come to our events. You've been a great support of Unstoppable Nation, our tribe of independent insurance agents who are constantly striving for more, striving for higher. And many of our members already invest in Elevate teams. And we're going to learn more about Elevate teams today. But, what I want to start off with today is tell us a little bit more about who Dom is. And you have a unique history in leading Elevate teams that comes from the independent insurance agency side. Where did you get started in this industry?
Yeah, so I actually got started as an intern back in 2006 when we still had a file room and paper files and mail that got dropped on your desk instead of PDFs, believe it or not. So,
What are paper files and snail mail? I haven't.
Mike, you act like you weren't there at that time.
Yeah, no, we had a whole wall of paper files. I think it was a Jeter filing system. Back to you.
But yeah, so I started as an intern and I was working at the time for my then girlfriend, now ex-girlfriend's stepfather, who, decided to give me an internship, and I lived about an hour outside of New York and on Long Island. And the first day he picked me up for work in a Mercedes Benz with a Cuban cigar and a Forest Trot cappuccino, and I thought I could get used to this. And so that was my entry into the insurance business. And then I realized it wasn't all Cuban cigars and Mercedes-Benz cars. So it was quite a long journey from there for me.
Yeah. So, good ride though. I mean, the desired outcome, and if you hit some goals and follow a plan and a strategy, it leads to a very good place. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, that's why I love, what you're doing with agency owners. I had my own system for my that was built off of Traction, which was EOS. But, I see what you're doing, and I think, there's a lot of similarities between the way that we look at business and the way that, you operated your business and the way that you're. So yeah, I mean, we were running EOS, and for us that worked. But I think there's a lot of similarities between what I was doing in my business and what you're doing now, and how you're hyper focused on insurance. I think it works incredibly well. But for me, I kind of just threw a bunch of stuff against the wall to see what would stick, and I was going to BNI networking groups and evening events and calling friends and family and doing all kinds of outreach, so to speak, and trying to build up a business. And then ultimately, I found some good centers of influence, and I was able to start getting referrals, and that ended up really working for me. And I ultimately ended up leaving Mogul Insurance for an agency out on Long Island, where I worked for about 2 years, and then in February of 22, I launched my own insurance brokerage called Cody Group in New York City. At the time it was myself and one employee, and we were kind of off to the races. So, once I started, there were a lot of things I didn't realize about, actually running a business as opposed to just selling insurance. So, at the beginning, I was the janitor. I took out the trash. I had to clean up after myself. I was answering the phones. I was doing pretty much every single job in the business that you could possibly do. And after about a year or two of really doing everything, we were super busy. Our renewals were starting to come in, new business referrals were coming in, and I was really struggling to keep up with the work. I was working 70, 80 hours a week, and a friend of mine had recommended that I do an exercise where I write down every single task that I was doing and my employee was doing for a week, and then take a look and see what we were spending our time on. And ultimately, I realized that most of the things that were taking up the majority of our time were things that I did as an intern. And so, from there, I said, well, if we're spending a lot of our time on things that I was doing as an unlicensed person, it made sense for me to hire an unlicensed person outside of the country to take on that work for us. And so that was my kind of aha moment into outsourcing. So we started in India. I had a VA in India for about a year. And then my now business partner and Elevate team, Stan, recommended that I try working with people in Latin America. And so I did. And ultimately, we built up a team of 5 people in Latin America at Cody Group, my insurance business, before we sold it in 2022. So, we essentially had a proven case study for Elevate teams. So when me and Stan launched that business, we had a really good idea of, what the market looked like. We had the training modules and procedures set up and ready to go. And so, it was really just figuring out the recruiting side of it and getting people trained up and then trying to get some sales in the door.
Yeah. Fantastic story. And, the basis of what you've got because my question is always, whether it be, one of our partners in business or a new team member or even the consumer marketplace, why should somebody do business with you over and above any and all other options available to them? And we've got to be answering that question in every way, every single day, right? So why should somebody do business with Elevate Teams as an example? I mean, you have a history as an agency owner. You understand what it's like in the trenches out there, networking and marketing and creating processes and growing teams and all of that. So you've been there and done that, as they say. And now you're helping independent insurance agency owners across North America have the right people in the right seats, back to an EOS term, or their agencies to help them grow and scale, right? So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for us, it's really about helping our clients grow, and then also, we're helping people in Latin America grow as well, right? So one of our clients said it to us recently that we set up a model where it's a win-win-win, right? It's a win for us as Elevate Teams as a business. It's a win for the people in LATAM that we're placing with our clients in the United States, and it's also a win for the agency owners in the US that are getting high quality talent, at a lower price point than what people are paying in the US. But for us, we're not looking at ourselves as necessarily a replacement for people that are in your office, right? We're more of an augmentation of your staff. So a lot of people will come to us and they say, Susie in the office is so busy and, she can't get to calling our clients to cross sell them, or she can't get to the pile of quotes that she's supposed to be doing that's on her desk, so to speak. And so like, well, what if we took certificates off of Susie's desk? What if we took binders and ID cards off her desk? What if we were able to set up the clients for her in your management system? Or we were able to handle an intake form that would gather the information that she needed to do the quote, go into a comparative rater, quote it, and then hand it back to Susie to go finalize the quote and sell it to the client, right? Like there's a lot of things that we could take off your existing staff's desk that you don't need to be licensed to do that will allow them to function at a much higher level, and also allow them to drive revenue for the business, whether it be through, cross-selling or upselling or asking existing clients for referrals, right? And so that's really the way that we view this model.
yeah, and you have multiple types of people available, even customer facing team members, right?
Correct. Yeah. So we have 3 offerings, soon to be 4. Our first offering is a back office customer support level person. They're still going to be bilingual. They're fluent in English, but they may have a little bit heavier accent than counterparts. We have a client facing offering where these are people that are more comfortable on the phones. Most of them have, BPO or business process outsourcing experience in call centers in, Colombia, Nicaragua, other parts of LATAM. And then our highest level offering is, well, our now second highest level is our elevated VA. So we're taking the best of the best of each training class. So we recruit people in Latin America, we bring them on board, we train them, we pay for training for 4 weeks. They're trained in the four largest management systems, so AMS 360, Applied Epic, Hawksoft, and EasyLinks. And then about 50% of the people don't make it through training. And that's because we don't believe that we're not going to be putting forward anyone that we don't believe is going to be a good fit for our clients. And so after they go through the extensive recruiting and training process, it's only at that time that we put them forward for interviews with clients or potential clients for placements. And so for us, we're really trying to get the best people available. And then within that class, the top of the class, we put forward for what's called our elevated offering, where they're amazing English, top performers. And then we also will train them for 2 weeks on specific tasks that you might want them to do. Usually it's stuff like quoting or chord forms or excess lines, things that are a bit more in depth. And then as of, Monday the 16th, we'll be live with our newest offering, which is going to be, we are offering to build out SOPs for people. So if you come to us and you say, hey, I really want to hire someone, but I don't have any training modules available, or I don't have my SOPs built out, we'll say, okay, we're going to bring you our top of the class with the best English. And then we're going to sit with you and take a look at how you process your work. From there, we'll create the SOPs, we'll get sign off from you, and then we'll train your remote worker from us on exactly how you want things done. And then from there, you can then use those procedures to train other people as well.
Wow. That is significant, because I know in the scaling world, there's a difference between growth and scale. And I'm not going to get into it on this podcast, but scaling is growing into your future self. But a key component is the self-identity and knowing that you might be the bottleneck, one. Two, letting go of that responsibility and allowing somebody else to help build your system so that the system becomes the default go-to for everything that happens. And now here you are. And I heard you say that. We were recently talking on another subject, and I heard you talk about that. And I said, here it is. So that is fantastic. And I can't wait to watch that evolve. So if anybody out there is listening, if your systems need to be built out, your SOPs need to be built out, and you don't have the capacity, the bandwidth, or all of the above to be able to do it, Dom and his team just showed up to help you out. So I can't wait to hear more about that. So before we go any further, if somebody wants to reach out to you and learn more about that, how can they get in touch with you and your team?
Sure. So you can check out our website, elevateteams.io. My email is Dominic, DOMINIC @elevateteams.io. So feel free to check out our website, reach out to me. Our own podcast called Elevate the Hustle. That can be found everywhere, but we have I think we have 25,000 subscribers on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, etc. So feel free to check us out there too.
Elevate the Hustle or elevateteams.io. Check those out, or Dominic at elevateteams.io, right?
Yeah, and check out Mike's episode on Elevate the Hustle.
Hopefully it was helpful. So anyway, yeah, super, super excited just to help more agents, most importantly. And let's get back to helping agents. So you talked about the different levels in which you can help agencies, but let's talk about what you've learned, because, I've talked to many people within the industry who are of the opinion, and what I want to know is what your experience has been. Is it fairly realistic that 30 to 50% or more, 30 to 50% or more of all activities that go on in an independent insurance agency can be done by a non-licensed team member?
I personally think it's more than that.
Okay. What do you think it is?
I think it's like 70%, 70 to 80%, honestly, depending on the person and the time you're doing. I mean, look, if you're a producer and you're selling and you're constantly selling and talking to people, then it's obviously a lot less. But if you're a account manager or a CSR or someone that's really more on the service side, I think it's going to lean more towards that 70 to 80%, right? Because most of what they're doing is, processing applications or doing quotes or, you know, handling billing questions, right? There's a lot of things that they're doing that you don't necessarily need a license to do. And, in my opinion, as an owner, I would much rather have those people building rapport with my customers, creating relationships, generating referrals and cross sells, because of the high quality service that they're providing for my customer, as opposed to being bogged down with certs, ID cards, binders, notices of cancellation, even like tracking down renewal quotes for excess lines placements or tracking down, supplemental applications or total cost forms. Like all of these relatively small tasks that are still important and need to get done.
Right.
They're going to need to get done. They just don't need to get done by a licensed person.
Right.
So, in my opinion, or what I've learned as an owner was that, the more of that work I could take off of their plates. And honestly, one of the questions I always asked people when I was hiring was, what do you hate doing? Like in your current role, and presumably I'm hiring them for a very similar, if not the same role. It's like, in your current role, what do you hate doing? And almost always it was certificates, ID cards, notices of cancellation. And I'd say, great. Like, how about if you came to work with me, you wouldn't have to do those things anymore because I have a team of people that process those and
Right.
their face would light up, right? So I was able to not only, use it to make you work with people in LATAM to make my agency more efficient. I was able to use it as a recruiting tool for people in the US because I was taking work off their plate that they didn't really want to do anyway, that they just had to do because someone has to do it. And honestly, I was able to retain and keep my employees for a very long time because of the environment that we had.
Yeah, and you list on your website, I'm looking at it right now, all of the tasks that they can do, and actually you put out there, the rough cost per hour to an agency for those specific tasks. So I love the transparency there as well, and there's lots of client testimonials of the various agency management systems as well. So take us through. I run into agency leaders and owners fairly often who are still a little leery about
Sure.
the VA environment and so forth. What would you say to that person?
I mean, look, if you're someone that still has paper files, like I described in the beginning of this
Right.
episode, and you're not operating on a real management system, we're probably not the right fit for you.
Right.
But if you have employees who work from home in the United States, even if it's 1 or 2 days a week, you already have people who are working remotely. It's not that big of a leap to have someone working. I had someone who worked in Georgia for me, and our offices were in New York City.
Right.
If I'm going to have someone working in Georgia or Florida, like what's the difference of going a little bit farther south and having someone work from Latin America?
Right.
And honestly, you're getting, for all intents and purposes, you're just expanding the labor pool that you're getting, and you're going to end up getting much higher quality people that are willing to work, for less money as opposed to hiring an entry level person in the United States who, may or may not be good or may not have like the skill set that's needed to do the job well. All of our people are college educated. They all, are really willing and able to work in this environment, and they're hungry. So it really works out well.
Yeah, fantastic. And part of the reason that put us together, I believe, is that what Elevate Teams does, like you said in the beginning, you do a really good job of vetting your people before they come on board. And therefore, and with your insurance agency background, you have a lot of knowledge on what the right fit might be for an insurance agency position. So you combine all of that and you get the right result, if you will. So I think that's really, brought a perfect storm, if you will, together that benefits independent insurance agencies. And what's coming to my mind is I learned this long ago that you should only be doing the things that only you can do. And that
To do.
holds true. That holds true for owners and leadership, and it holds true for producers. And really, it holds true for licensed insurance professionals who are account managers and CSRs. All of them should only be doing the things that only they can do. And everything else is done with somebody who's a team member of Elevate Teams. And
Yeah.
they just, once they're trained and now you're going to provide the SOPs and everything else, I mean, the skies are parting, right? So that's really, really good stuff. And it will allow you that great opportunity to scale and grow like never before. So take us through one last thing and we'll just move to wrap this up. So somebody raises their hand, they get in touch with maybe Don puts the person in touch with one of your teammates who does a great job, sets up some interviews. What does that look like?
Yeah, so we have a director of matchmaking whose name is Carrie Gelber. She's been with us for several years now, and she's actually known Stan, my business partner, for over 20 years. But Carrie will go and she meets with every single person about a week before they graduate from training. And then she meets with them again after they graduate from training. And so she's getting an understanding of who these people are, what their personalities like. And then she also will go in and check the stats throughout training, who scored well on which sections of our training class. And she also gets an intake form from prospective clients to understand exactly what it is they're looking for in the role. And then she'll put together the perfect match for our clients so that we're not just handing you the next person up who, just graduated from training in sequential order. It's really very intentional and very data driven the way that we handle our matchmaking.
That's awesome. So you make sure it's the right person, right fit for that right seat in the agency. And if for some reason it's not a good fit, then Carol will just say, hey, this is not a good match. We'll find somebody who is, right?
Correct. Yeah. And, if our bench is running low, and we don't have someone that we think is going to be the right fit for you, we typically have another class graduating in 2 weeks. And so we'll put forward candidates from that class, who we do believe is going to be the right fit. But we're not just looking to place people for the sake of placing them. Like we really view, our relationship with our clients as like as a long-term partnership. And so, we want to be there to help them succeed. And, we're not going to just put someone in a seat without the belief that it's the right person. So,
Well, turnover in the VA world is just as costly sometimes as it is in the US with a licensed person. So I couldn't agree with that more. You're looking for a long-term, like we say, a career fit if possible. So great stuff, Dom. You guys are doing great work and up in your game to the fourth level now, and I can't wait to see that develop. Any last words of wisdom as we wrap it up today? Because I know Stella's calling.
yeah.
Stella, Dom's daughter, by the way. So something exciting happened in Stella's life. You were like doing two things at once, right?
I was. We actually had my daughter. Well, my wife had my daughter. I should correct myself. In February, the first week of February, or February 9th, sorry, of 2022. And we had launched Elevate Teams about 3 or 4 days before she was born. So it was a very exciting and very exhausting time in my life. And actually, coincidentally enough, Stan, my business partner, actually started his prior business, a film production business, the same week his daughter was born, his first child. So something about starting businesses and having kids at the same time, while maybe not recommended, seems to have worked out pretty well for us. So.
Well, you survived, and happy birthday, Stella, because we're right around that date as well. So
yesterday, she's 4.
Yeah. Congratulations. So anyway, that's the Stella who's calling, and family first always. Dom, thank you. And for everybody out there, elevateteams.io, or Dominic at elevateteams.io, or check out Elevate the Hustle podcast over on YouTube. You can find lots of cool, not only information, but just learn a little bit more about Stan. We couldn't corral him today, but hey, Stan, We're super grateful, and thank you for your support of UPP and Unstoppable Nation and all the agents who are, daily on a daily basis, elevating their hustle in pursuit of the next level. So, Dominic, thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. It's not easy out there. So, I've seen the work that you've been doing and we've been to your conference and I think it's really amazing. So, big shout out to you and the work you do. And, I'm glad that we've met and that we've been able to collaborate a bit. So,
Well, we look forward to seeing you in the future back again because they are coming up. By the way, let me drop you a couple of other pieces of information concerning conferences. You have two opportunities to learn more about what we do at UPP. You can go to uppmasterclass.com. That's uppmasterclass.com every month. We bring the best of the best on growing and scaling your business, uppmasterclass.com. You'll be able to see our next upcoming masterclass. Or if you want to come to one of our live events, just go to uppmastermind.com. That's uppmastermind.com. Dom and Elevate teams have been kind enough to sponsor our events. Thank you for your support there. And maybe you'll just run into them at one of our future events. So we're super, super grateful to support the agents and everything that are going through out there. We know, like Dom said, I couldn't agree more. It's not easy out there, and we know, but it's our honor and privilege to be able to support you in everything that you do. So, and by the way, if this is your first time on the podcast, welcome. My name is Mike Stromsoe. I'm widely recognized as a leading author, speaker, and coach for the independent insurance agency industry. You can learn more about everything that we do at upponyx.com. Upponyx, that's ONYX.com. It's our greatest opportunity for agents out there to grow and scale your business and so much more. So check that out. And if you enjoyed this episode and you want to continue to learn more every single week, just go to unstoppableprofitpodcast.com. That's Unstoppable Profit Podcast. Go up to the top. Most importantly, make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss one valuable episode. And if you got great value out of today's podcast, please share this episode with somebody else out there. I mean, pay it forward, help them out. If they might be thinking about VAs, get them the great information and the gold nuggets that Dom dropped here for us, just so we can all learn and grow together. Thank you, everybody. Until next time, get out there, make a difference, be unstoppable, leave no regrets. Dom, thank you, sir. Have a great day.
Thanks, Mike. Have a good one.
By the way, congratulations on the next level. Check it out, everybody. Until the next episode, be unstoppable. We'll see you.